Well, folks, it is that time again. We have some updated sales numbers from Nintendo regarding the Nintendo Switch hardware itself, but also software. How is Tears of the Kingdom holding up now that it's a few months old? And more importantly, we have our first official sales numbers for Pikmin 4. Let's talk about it. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at Nintendo's updated sales highlights from their investor briefing that they just did every 3 months, every quarter. We get updated sales numbers for Nintendo Switch games, for Nintendo Switch hardware, or just Nintendo stuff in general. And I wanted to go through it with you all because I always find this stuff very interesting, very nerdy, but I enjoy this stuff. It's kind of like if you follow like NFL or something, like player stats, that kind of thing, right? These are Nintendo stats. So let's take a closer look at this. All of these numbers are as of September 30th, 2023. That's when the cutoff is. So we won't get numbers for something like Mario Wonder until I believe January, which is quite a ways away. But let's go ahead and jump into this. So starting off with hardware, this is pretty interesting just in of itself. The hardware itself is at 132.46 million units, which actually, like, you know, isn't that huge of a jump. Last quarter ending June 30th, I believe it was at like 129 point something million. So around 3 million sold in the past 3 months. However, it is actually up year over year. Switch hardware sales are actually up versus the same 6-month period in 2022. They actually talk about it in their little press thing here. They wrote unit sales for the entire Nintendo Switch family rose by 2.4% year on year to 6.84 million units. So that's starting March 31st, 2023 to now, right? Or I guess April 1st, 2023. This breaks down to 1.25 million units of Nintendo Switch, 4.69 million units of Nintendo Switch OLED model, and 0.9 million units of the Nintendo Switch Lite. Total software sales grew 1.8% year on year to 97.08 million units. So overall, everything across the board is up. It doesn't seem like that big of a jump, but it actually is a pretty impressive increase considering the Nintendo Switch is in its 7th year. But also last year in that same period, they had a Splatoon 3 compared to like something like Pikmin 4, for example, much bigger title, though this 6-month period, of course, had Tears of the Kingdom as well, so there is that to factor. For the actual hardware itself, though, there was the Splatoon 3 OLED model bundle, which I feel like probably sold better than the Tears of the Kingdom one, just because that was like peak, like, okay, we need to move on to the OLED. Although based on this, the Switch OLED sold 4.69 million units, an increase of like 33%, I believe, something crazy like that. So the OLED is like definitely just the de facto model now. The OG Switch and the Switch Lite especially have really slowed down in sales, and it seems like everybody is just, if you're buying a Switch at this point, you're probably either just buying into the family with the OLED, or you're upgrading your original Switch to an OLED finally, this many years into the console's life. So the hardware sales are actually pretty promising, I would say. As part of their fiscal year forecast, they had said they hope to sell 15 million by March 31st, 2024, but that they were actually a little scared that they weren't going to be able to do that. Furukawa said it might be a bit of a stretch to expect that many units sold, but based on this, we're already at just under 7 million units sold, and that's without a holiday season. So depending on what Mario Wonder does, depending on just these holiday sales, all these new bundles they're releasing, the Smash bundle, the Mario Red bundle, the little Animal Crossing Switch Lite bundles, they're making a very aggressive push to sell as many Switch consoles this holiday in particular, it feels like, and then we'll see how that carries into early next year. But I think 15 million by March 31st honestly shouldn't be too hard for them to accomplish. They're already halfway there. They just need really strong holiday sales. So with all these bundles, I think they'll be able to do that. So software sales are up, but what about the individual software? There were two things I was very curious to see about this investor meeting. The first of which was Pikmin 4. We had no numbers for this game as of the last time they gave us sales numbers for Nintendo games, so I was very curious to see how this game did. Pikmin is a pretty niche series overall. However, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed. It is, I will say, it is the best-selling Pikmin game already. It's at approximately 2.61 million units, so very strong sales overall. However, I don't know. I feel like, let's say, for example, Pikmin 4 had released in 2019 or something, right? I feel like it would have been a much, much bigger hit, just the exact same game released in a different time period. Which, I mean, that's just how it goes, right? The Switch is getting older now, less interest overall in the console and trying out new things, but 2.61 million is, like I said, it's still the best-selling Pikmin game already. It just feels a little weaker than I expected. I was hoping for at least 3 million, maybe even 4 for this game, but overall, good. You know, good sales for Pikmin 4. I just, you know, I don't really expect this game to have very much like legs or longevity. It's not going to be an evergreen title, really. I don't think it's going to keep selling for years to come. So I would have hoped for a little bit more there. It makes it feel like Pikmin will never be that priority that, you know, they need to get out on the next console immediately. Like, if we're expecting Switch 2 to come out next year or 2025, I don't think Pikmin 5's even in the cards, like, even remotely in their planning right now, which is just a little disappointing. If we had seen maybe stronger sales, maybe that wouldn't be the case. But with 2.6 million, you know, they can't really complain with that. I'm making it sound way more negative than it actually is. Those are strong sales. I was just personally expecting a little bit more than that. And then this one was a pretty big shocker to me. Tears of the Kingdom has completely slowed down. Like, just a drastic slowdown. So, for comparison, Tears of the Kingdom came out to incredible success. It sold 10 million copies in 3 days. We know the story. And as of June 30th, it was at 18.5 million copies sold. Well, over the past 3 months, it only sold another million. That is a pretty drastic decline. I'd be curious to see what a similar time frame would look like for Breath of the Wild, but I can't imagine it would be that drastic. There were a lot of debates back when Tears of the Kingdom came out on whether or not it would outsell Breath of the Wild. Barring any sort of Switch 2 port or 4K version or DLC that ends up making it an ultimate version, I know they said they're not doing DLC, but we'll see. There's no chance that Tears of the Kingdom comes anywhere close to Breath of the Wild, which is sitting pretty nicely at 30.65 million units now. So over that 30 million barrier, Tears of the Kingdom's not at 20 yet. By the next update, certainly it will be. Tears of the Kingdom hasn't had a holiday season yet, which might boost it quite a bit. But I was very surprised to see it only sold 1 million copies in a 3-month period. I mean, that's pretty weak, especially when you look at the other things that Nintendo's highlighting as part of this financial report. In the past 6 months, Smash Bros. Ultimate has sold another 1.3, Breath of the Wild sold another 1.3, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe sold 1.2, Mario Party Superstars 1.2 as well. Same thing with Mario Odyssey and 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. So that Mario movie effect starting in April really helped out. I mean, once again, I'm not sure what Odyssey and 3D World were doing like April of last year, for example, but to see them selling over 1 million in the past, half year ending in September is pretty crazy. And then, of course, you have mainstays like Animal Crossing and Nintendo Switch Sports, funnily enough, and Scarlet and Violet, which is just below passing Gold and Silver now, to become like the 3rd best, I believe, selling Pokemon games, which is pretty crazy. So give that another holiday season, and Scarlet and Violet will almost certainly be passing Gold and Silver, which is crazy because those games are broken, but take away the bugs and they're pretty good games, right? I guess. So what does all of this mean exactly? I feel like I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm recording this the night that the numbers come out. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to see a bunch of doom and gloom saying, oh, Tears of the Kingdom numbers are terrible and Pikmin 4 completely bombed. I don't know. I feel like people are going to be using this to spin some sort of narrative saying the Switch is completely dead. But Nintendo itself is reporting in these financial documents that pretty much everything is up overall. It's just these individual newer games maybe aren't selling as strongly as you would expect. You know, when you see something like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe selling, let's just say, half as much as Pikmin 4 in the same time period. That's a Wii U game from 2012. That's crazy. But as a company, Nintendo's probably pretty happy right now that the Mario movie, for example, could bolster those sales so much to the point that freaking Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I mean, that's been a mainstay juggernaut forever, but that's selling, 3.5 million. That's crazy. Or sorry, let me correct myself, 3.2 million. For a console in its 7th year, Switch sales are very strong. They're doing better than they were in 2022, which was already a pretty great year. But it's all in perspective of what happened in 2020 with the world. Those years were incredible for the Switch, like unprecedented things we had never seen before. Animal Crossing success is a testament to that. So we're still just kind of coming down from that high, but now we're actually going up a little bit. And I'll be very curious to see how something like Mario Wonder did and what the hardware will do this holiday season. If this is truly the Switch's last holiday season, what does that look like in terms of just raw data? What does this new Smash Ultimate OLED bundle do? What does the Mario Red OLED do? What does Mario Wonder do for actually moving consoles? I'd be very curious to see how this all actually plays out. If you just read what Nintendo's saying, they're happy. They're everything is up. Software is up. Hardware is up. Profits are up this year versus last year, which is just crazy when you consider that the Switch is this old. And when you consider how great the lineup was last year even, and in 2021. So I'll be curious to see how this all plays out. Like I said, I'm just kind of expecting to wake up tomorrow seeing a bunch of doom and gloom posts being like, oh, the Switch is doomed. But if you actually read through it, it's pretty good right now considering all of the variables there. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. How are you feeling about these Switch software and hardware sales numbers? My initial gut reaction to Pikmin and Tears of the Kingdom that's not as impressive as I would have expected, especially for Tears of the Kingdom. 1 million in 3 months just seems very low. I'll be curious to see how that game does with its first holiday season. And then Pikmin 4, yes, best-selling Pikmin game. I guess I just had my expectations a little too high for that one. But in terms of overall, software and hardware numbers, everything is up this year versus last year. So it's an interesting position Nintendo's in, where if you're looking at the sales data and you are trying to say, okay, well, because this is doing bad, that means they have to release a new console. Well, the same was definitely true of last year then, by that logic, because last year they were doing worse than they're doing this year. So, just some food for thought. That is going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on these numbers down in the comments below. Were you expecting Pikmin 4 to do better or worse? Were you expecting the Switch hardware itself to do better or worse? I would love to get a conversation going down below. And of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, coverage, updates, discussions, all of that fun stuff. And until next time, folks, peace!